The massive alien ship hummed above New York like a shining metal cloud. It had been there for 3 days, silent and waiting, before it finally sent a message. "We come from the Galactic Council. We wish to speak with Earth's leaders." Captain James Carter stood tall in his crisp blue uniform, trying not to look nervous. Beside him, Dr. Lisa Miller adjusted her glasses and took a deep breath. They were Earth's chosen representatives, a military man and a scientist, picked to meet the aliens face to face. "Remember," James whispered as they waited in the United Nations building, "show strength, but be respectful." Lisa nodded. "I just hope they're friendly." The doors opened, and 3 aliens walked in. They looked almost human, but their skin had a light purple tone, and their eyes were large and completely black. The one in front wore a shining silver outfit with strange symbols. "I am High Commander Trell of the Galactic Council," the alien said in perfect English. "We have been watching your planet for some time." James stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Captain James Carter of Earth, we welcome you and hope for peaceful relations." Trell's mouth twitched in what seemed like a smile, but it felt wrong somehow. "How charming. You speak well for a species so young." The meeting room was filled with world leaders and important officials. Everyone could feel it. The aliens were not impressed. For the next 2 hours, Trell explained the Galactic Council, a group of 23 advanced species that govern most of the known galaxy. They had technologies humans could barely understand and had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. "And what does Earth have to offer the Council?" Trell asked, looking around the room with those black eyes. Lisa spoke up. "We have rich cultures, art, music." One of the other aliens made a sound like a laugh. Trell raised a hand to quiet them. "Yes, primitive art is always interesting," Trell said. "But I meant real contributions, science, technology. Your species still burns fossil fuels. You have only just learned to leave your own planet." James felt his face grow hot. "We're still developing, but we learn quickly." "Indeed," Trell said, not hiding his amusement. "We have observed your wars, your pollution, your emotional decision-making. Most species grow out of these childhood phases." The aliens showed videos of their worlds, clean cities that floated in the sky, ships that could travel faster than light, and machines that could build anything from raw atoms. One by one, Earth's leaders tried to impress the aliens. They spoke of human achievements, of space exploration and medical breakthroughs. But with each example, the aliens exchanged glances that clearly said, "Asterisk, how cute. They think this is advanced asterisk." At the end of the day, Trell made his offer. "The Council will grant Earth observer status. You may send a small team to our central station. You may learn from us, but you will have no vote in Council matters until you mature as a species." Later, in a private room, James slammed his fist on the table. "They treated us like children." Lisa looked through the information pad the aliens had given them. "They're at least 1,000 years ahead of us, James. Maybe more." "That doesn't give them the right to laugh at us," he said. "Did you see how they smirked when I mentioned our space program? Like I was a kid showing off a crayon drawing." Lisa put her hand on his arm. "At least they're willing to let us learn. This is our chance to catch up." James nodded slowly, looking out the window at the alien ship. "I just hope we get the chance to show them what humans are really made of." He didn't know then how soon that chance would come. 6 months had passed since first contact. The human outpost on the Galactic Council's massive space station was small, just 5 rooms tucked away in a forgotten corner. The aliens had made it clear that humans were an afterthought. Mike Wilson wiped sweat from his forehead as he fixed the air system again. As the team's engineer, he spent most days repairing their outdated equipment. The Council had given them the oldest tech available, claiming it was more suitable for human understanding. "Fixed it yet?" James asked, entering the room. The captain looked tired. His meetings with Council officials usually ended with polite dismissal. Almost, Mike said. You know, I could build something better if they'd give us decent parts. James nodded. They won't. They enjoy watching us struggle with their scraps. The door slid open, and Lisa walked in, her face flushed with anger. They did it again. I requested access to their biology database for my research, and they denied it. Said human minds aren't ready for such advanced concepts. Every day brought new insults. In the station's common areas, alien scientists would ask humans simple math questions as if testing children. Others would make comments just loud enough to be heard. Look at the humans using their primitive tablets. Isn't it adorable? That night, while the others slept, Mike snuck out to the station's recycling area. He had discovered that the aliens threw away technology they considered outdated, tech that was still decades ahead of Earth's best. Let's see what treasures we have tonight, he whispered, digging through a bin of discarded parts. He found a power cell, some sensor arrays, and something that looked like a data chip. He stuffed them into his pockets and hurried back. In his small workshop, hidden behind a false wall, Mike had been studying the alien tech piece by piece. They think we're too stupid to understand their technology, he muttered as he worked. We'll see about that. The next morning, James called an urgent meeting. The council is tracking something strange at the edge of their space. Energy readings unlike anything they've seen before. Are they worried? Lisa asked. James shook his head. They dismissed it as natural phenomena. But look at this. He showed them the data he'd managed to copy. These patterns, they remind me of the theoretical work we did back on Earth about pocket dimensions. Lisa studied the readings. You're right. This looks like something is pushing through from another phase of reality. The council won't listen, James said. Their science director laughed when I suggested they send ships to investigate. Said humans always see monsters in the shadows. Mike looked up from the alien device he was secretly working on. Maybe we should look into it ourselves. With what? Lisa asked. We have no ships, no authority. Mike smiled. We have our brains, and I've been collecting some resources. Give me a few weeks. Over the next month, strange reports came in. An outpost at the edge of council space had gone silent. The aliens sent a routine patrol but didn't seem concerned. James watched the alien news feeds carefully. They're so confident in their technology, they can't imagine anything threatening them. Lisa looked worried. Pride comes before a fall. In the meantime, Mike said quietly, showing them a small device he had built from scavenged parts. I've made a scanner that can detect those energy patterns. If whatever's out there comes closer, we'll know before they do. James nodded, a small smile forming. Good. Keep working. Something tells me the council might need us sooner than they think. Outside the station viewport, the stars shone peacefully, but somewhere in that darkness, something was moving. Something the advanced aliens, for all their technology, were too arrogant to see coming. A year had passed since humans first arrived at the council station. The strange energy readings had grown stronger. 3 outer worlds had gone silent. No messages, no signals, just complete silence. In the council's grand meeting hall, High Commander Trell addressed the gathered alien representatives. James, Lisa, and Mike stood at the back, allowed to observe but not speak. The investigation teams we sent to Outpost Delta have not returned, Trell announced. We are sending our battle cruisers to determine the cause. An alien with blue skin and 4 arms stood up. Could this be related to the energy anomalies detected last season? Trell waved a dismissive hand. Our scientists have analyzed those readings thoroughly. They are simply natural space phenomena. Whatever happened to our outposts is most likely equipment failure or a local problem. James whispered to Lisa. They're still not taking this seriously. Lisa nodded. They trust their technology too much. Back in their quarters, Mike had built a more powerful scanner from his collected parts. The device hummed on their table, displaying readings that made no sense to conventional science. Look at this, Lisa said, pointing to the screen. "The energy patterns are changing. It's almost like they're alive." James leaned closer. "Alive? I think we're dealing with energy-based life forms," Lisa explained. "Entities that exist in a different phase of reality than our own." Mike frowned. "Can something like that even interact with our world?" "Theoretically, yes," Lisa said. "If they found a way to phase into our reality, they could interact with physical matter. And if they're intelligent and hostile." The alarm on Mike's scanner suddenly blared. The energy readings had spiked dramatically. "Something big just happened," Mike said. Minutes later, the station-wide announcement system activated. Trell's voice sounded different. There was an edge to it that hadn't been there before. "Attention all council members. Battle cruiser Zenith has been lost. All communication with the Vega system has ceased. The council is now treating this as a possible hostile action." For the next week, the station buzzed with activity. More ships were sent. More ships disappeared. Finally, they received the first images of what they were facing. The council chamber was silent as the recording played. It showed a council city on one of the outer worlds. The buildings were intact, but there were no people. Then strange, shifting shapes appeared, like holes in reality itself. Where they passed, technology failed. Lights went out. Vehicles stopped. The recording ended abruptly. "What are they?" an alien counselor asked. "We don't know," Trell admitted. "Our sensors can barely detect them. We're calling them the Void." Lisa raised her hand, something humans weren't supposed to do in council meetings. Trell, surprisingly, acknowledged her. "Dr. Miller, this is not the time for human curiosity." "Sir," Lisa said, standing straighter, "those entities match exactly what we theorized. They're energy beings from another phase of reality. Your conventional sensors can't properly track them because they're not fully in our dimension." Several alien counselors laughed. One with silvery skin spoke up. "Are we now taking scientific advice from humans? What's next? Consulting your Earth psychics?" Trell silenced them with a gesture. "While I appreciate your enthusiasm, Dr. Miller, our scientists have far more advanced theories." 2 days later, the first major council world fell to the Void. 10 million aliens gone in a single day. The station received a final transmission before all went silent. "Our weapons have no effect. They disable all technology." Then nothing. That night, James found Trell standing alone at a viewport, staring at the stars. "Commander," James said, "we'd like to help." Trell didn't turn around. "This is not a human matter." "With respect," James replied, "if these things keep spreading, it will be everyone's matter." Trell finally looked at him, those black eyes showing something new, a flicker of fear. "Perhaps," the alien commander said quietly, "it already is." Panic had replaced arrogance on the council station. In just 2 weeks, the Void entities had destroyed 5 major worlds. Every weapon the aliens sent against them failed. Their ships went dark when they got close. Their advanced AI defense systems shut down completely. "Emergency meeting in 10 minutes," James told Lisa and Mike. "And this time, we're invited to participate, not just observe." The council chamber was crowded with representatives from all 23 alien species. Many looked tired and afraid. High Commander Trell stood at the center. "Our standard battle strategies have failed. The Void entities are advancing toward our core worlds." He paused, looking uncomfortable. "We are open to suggestions from all members, including our human observers." James stepped forward. "Thank you, Commander. First, we need all the data you have on the Void attacks." "You'll have it," Trell said. "Full access granted." Lisa couldn't believe her ears. After a year of being denied access to even basic information, they were suddenly getting everything. For 3 days straight, the human team worked without sleep. They studied attack patterns, survivor reports, and sensor readings. Mike set up a lab where he tested how different technologies reacted to simulated void energy. "Look at this," Lisa said on the fourth morning, pointing to her screen. "Every time the void appears, there's a specific pattern of energy fluctuation before they fully materialize." James nodded. "If we could detect that pattern early enough, we could at least get warning." Mike burst into the room, his face excited. "I found something. When I tested that old radio equipment I brought from Earth, you know, the analog stuff, it kept working even when exposed to the void energy patterns." "That makes sense," Lisa said. "The void seems to interface with digital systems, but older analog technology might be too simple for them to affect." James looked thoughtful. "The aliens engineered everything to be as advanced as possible. They have no backup systems that aren't AI-controlled." Later that day in the lab, Lisa made another discovery. She was scanning brain patterns of survivors who had seen the void up close. "This is strange," she said. "The people who survived the longest had unusual brain activity. Strong emotional responses, particularly fear and hope, created neural patterns that seemed to disrupt the void somehow. The aliens have been engineering emotion out of their species for generations," James said. "They see it as primitive. Their brain patterns are much more regular than ours." Mike laughed. "So our messy human emotions might actually be an advantage." As they worked, more worlds fell. The void entities were now only 3 systems away from the Council's home planets. Council scientists watched the humans with a mix of hope and doubt. "Your theories are interesting," one alien scientist told Lisa, "but they rely on emotional responses that can't be replicated in our technology." "Maybe they don't need to be replicated," Lisa answered. "Maybe you need humans to operate the defenses." That night, Trell called them to a private meeting. The proud alien commander looked tired, his purple skin pale. "Our scientists have reviewed your findings," he said. "They are reluctant to admit it, but your theories about analog technology and emotional disruption patterns show promise." "We need to act quickly," James said. "The void will reach your central planets within weeks." Trell nodded slowly. "I am authorizing the human-led research team effective immediately. All Council resources will be at your disposal." As they left the meeting, Mike whispered, "Not bad for primitive humans, huh?" James didn't smile. "Let's not celebrate yet. We still need to develop working defenses, and we don't have much time." Back in their quarters, Lisa looked at the star map showing the void's advance. "It's ironic," she said quietly. "The very things they mocked us for, our emotions, our primitive technology, might be what saves them." James nodded. "Let's make sure they remember that, if we all survive." The main laboratory on the Council station had been given to the humans. Alien scientists who once laughed at them now watched eagerly as they worked. Mike stood at a large table covered with parts, some alien, some human, all connected in ways the Council engineers found strange. He had created what he called a hybrid shield generator. "It uses your power sources," Mike explained to the aliens, "but the control systems are based on Earth technology, old technology. Analog switches, physical wiring." Lisa was working with a team of alien doctors, studying human brain patterns. "The void entities seem to exist partly in our reality and partly in another dimension," she said. "Human emotional responses, especially strong ones like fear, hope, and determination, create neural patterns that disrupt their ability to fully materialize." James entered the lab with Trell. "We've received word that the void has reached Proxima, just 1 system away from here," James announced. "We're out of time. We need to test the prototypes now." The first test was conducted in a sealed chamber. They released a small sample of void energy that had been captured during an attack. As expected, all the alien technology in the room immediately shut down. Mike activated his shield generator. A humming field of blue energy formed around it. The void energy approached but couldn't penetrate the shield. "It works," one of the alien scientists exclaimed. "Partially," Mike cautioned. Watch what happens when the shield is operated by an alien. A council engineer took control of the shield. The blue field weakened and flickered. The void energy began to seep through. Now watch when a human operates it, Mike said, taking back control. The shield immediately strengthened, pushing the void energy back. Lisa explained, the shield works based on both the analog technology and the operator's brain patterns. Our emotions actually strengthen the field. This is why your people can't reproduce our results, James told Trell. Your species engineered emotion out of yourselves generations ago. You saw feelings as primitive, as weaknesses to overcome. But those emotions create the neural patterns that disrupt the void. Trell looked troubled. You're saying we need humans to operate these defenses? Our entire fleet? Yes, James said simply. And we need more humans. As many as Earth can send. Within days, the call went out. Emergency shuttles were sent to Earth. Volunteers came by the thousands, soldiers, engineers, even ordinary people willing to help. They were quickly trained to operate the hybrid shields and weapons Mike had designed. On the station, Lisa made another discovery. Different emotions affect the void in different ways. She explained to a room full of alien officials. Fear disrupts them, but hope and determination actually seem to harm them. It's like their existence is threatened by our strongest positive emotions. An alien scientist objected. But emotions are unpredictable, unstable. How can we build reliable defenses on something so chaotic? That's exactly the point, James said. The void feeds on pattern and order. Your perfect, logical societies were easy targets. Human unpredictability is our strength. As preparations continued, more humans arrived every day. The aliens watched in confusion as the humans talked, laughed, cried, and supported each other. All those messy emotions they had engineered out of themselves long ago. I still don't understand, Trell said to James as they watched a group of human engineers working together, joking despite the danger. How can you function like this? With all these feelings? James smiled. That's how we've always survived, Commander. We feel, we hope, we fear, we love, and because of that, we fight harder than any logical calculation would ever suggest we should. Trell was silent for a moment. Then perhaps we have more to learn from humans than I thought. The final battle plans were ready. Tomorrow, humanity would lead the defense of the galaxy against the void. The command center of the Council's main battle station buzzed with activity. For the first time in Council history, humans stood at the control panels. Captain James Carter sat in the central command chair, a position no human had ever been offered before. The void entities have entered the Centauri system, an alien officer reported. They'll reach our defensive line in 30 minutes. James nodded and activated the communication system. All ships, this is Commander Carter. Activate hybrid shields and prepare for battle. Across the fleet, human operators sat at modified control stations. The massive Council ships, once fully automated, now depended on human hands and human emotions to defend them. Are you certain this strategy will work? Trell asked, standing beside James. It seems chaotic. The battle plan James had created broke every rule of Council warfare. Instead of an organized formation, ships would move unpredictably. Instead of coordinated attacks, each captain would make independent decisions based on the situation. Chaos is exactly what we need, James replied. The void feeds on patterns. We're giving them none. Lisa's voice came through the communication system. She was on a science vessel, monitoring the void's approach. They're coming faster than expected. Multiple energy signatures detected. All ships, James ordered, remember your training. Feel what you need to feel. Fear, hope, determination. Let those emotions flow through you as you operate the shields. Mike had created a simple device that each human wore, a small circle on their temple that amplified their emotional patterns into the shields they controlled. The more strongly they felt, the stronger the shields became. The first wave of void entities appeared, swirling black holes in space that seemed to bend reality around them. Where they touched normal matter, it simply ceased to exist. "Shields at full power," James commanded. "Initiate random movement pattern Alpha." The Council ships, many piloted by humans who had only basic training, began to move in seemingly random directions. The void entities, used to the predictable patterns of alien fleets, seemed confused. "It's working," Lissa reported. "They're having trouble targeting our ships." The battle raged for hours. Some ships were lost, consumed by the void when they got too close. But for the first time, the void's advance was stopped. The human-operated shields held firm. James ordered the next phase. "Weapon ships, move into position. Remember, fire in random patterns, not coordinated volleys." The specialized ships Mike had designed fired beams of energy, calibrated to match the frequency of human hope and determination, emotions that seemed to harm the void entities. Where the beams struck, the black holes shrank and destabilized. In the command center, alien officials watched in amazement as the chaotic human battle plan succeeded where their perfect strategies had failed. "They're retreating," Lissa announced finally. "The void entities are pulling back from the Centauri system." Cheers erupted across the fleet. Humans hugged each other and even hugged startled aliens who weren't used to such physical displays of emotion. Trell approached James as the celebration continued around them. "I must admit, Captain Carter, I did not believe this would succeed. Your methods seemed primitive." James smiled tiredly. "Sometimes the old ways work best. Technology isn't everything, Commander." "Indeed," Trell said quietly. "We had forgotten that. In our quest for perfection, we engineered out the very things that might have saved us. Our emotions, our unpredictability, our humanity, I suppose you would call it." Reports came in from across the fleet. The void had retreated from all fronts. For the first time since the invasion began, they had been pushed back. But James knew the battle wasn't over. "They'll regroup," he told Trell. "They'll adapt to our tactics. We need to prepare for a final confrontation." Trell nodded. "And this time, humanity will lead us." The galaxy's fate now rested in human hands, the hands the Council had once thought too primitive to matter. 3 days after their first victory, the void returned. As James had predicted, they had adapted. This time, they moved in random patterns, mimicking the human strategy. "They're learning," Lissa said, studying the sensor readings. "They've changed their approach." Mike worked day and night, improving the shields and weapons. "We need something new," he told James. "Something they can't predict or copy." The answer came from an unexpected source. A young human woman named Anna, who had arrived with the last group of volunteers, approached James with an idea. "Captain," she said, "I'm a musician. I've noticed that when I play music near the shield generators, they respond differently. The patterns become even more complex." James brought the idea to Lissa. She tested it and her eyes widened. "She's right. Music creates emotional patterns that are far more complex than our basic emotions alone. The void can't adapt to something so intricate and changing." Within hours, human music filled the ships of the fleet. Classical, rock, jazz, folk songs from 100 cultures. The more varied, the better. The shield patterns became a swirling, beautiful complexity that strengthened with every note. "All ships, prepare for final engagement," James announced as the void massed for what looked like a desperate, all-out attack. The battle that followed was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Human operators, their emotions amplified by music, powered shields that the void couldn't penetrate. Weapons fueled by hope and determination tore holes in the void entities. But the void fought back fiercely. Ships were lost. Good people died protecting aliens who had once mocked them. At the critical moment, James made a decision. "All ships, focus fire on the central void mass. Channel everything you have, all your fear, all your hope, all your love for your fellow humans, and the future we're fighting for." A massive surge of power flowed through the fleet's weapons. The combined beam struck the heart of the void swarm. For a moment, everything seemed to hang in balance. Then, with a flash of light that blinded sensors, the void collapsed in on itself and disappeared. Silence filled the command center. Then cheers erupted across every ship in the fleet. The void was gone. They had won. In the days that followed, the galaxy began to rebuild. The Council met in emergency session and voted unanimously to grant Earth full membership with all rights and privileges. 1 month after the final battle, a formal ceremony was held. Humans and aliens gathered in the Great Council Hall. High Commander Trell stood before the assembly. "Today, we honor those who saved us all," Trell announced. "Captain James Carter, Dr. Lisa Miller, and Engineer Mike Wilson, please step forward." The 3 humans approached, still surprised by this turn of events. "You will receive the Star of Valor, the highest honor the Council can bestow," Trell said. "But more importantly, you have taught us a lesson we have forgotten." Trell's voice carried through the silent hall. "For generations, we believed advancement meant moving beyond our biological origins. We engineered emotion out of ourselves, seeing it as primitive and unnecessary. We were wrong." The alien commander turned to face the crowd. "Humanity reminded us that emotions, love, fear, hope, determination, give us strength that cold logic cannot. Your music, your art, your unpredictability, these are not weaknesses to overcome but strengths to embrace." James accepted the medal with a nod. "We're happy to help, Commander, and we look forward to working together as equals." As they left the ceremony, Mike grinned. "Not bad for primitives, huh?" Lisa smiled. "I think the galaxy just got a lot more interesting." James looked out at the stars, now safe again. Humans walked among aliens as respected equals, no longer a joke but partners. Sometimes, he thought, you need to be underestimated before you can truly show what you're made of. And humanity, for all its flaws and emotions, had proven itself made of stronger stuff than anyone, including the most advanced aliens in the galaxy, had ever imagined.